Some people travel to check places off a list, but the best way to understand a city is simply to walk for a while. This is Tirana. There are a few things that shape how you experience a city, like walkability, how it feels to move through the streets, street life, the rhythm of everyday life, and places to pause where the city lets you breathe for a while. Those things together, that's the Travel Without Chaos Index. 3 dimensions, each one scored out of 5. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how Tirana scores. Tirana sits in a flat valley, with mountains on almost every side. The city itself is easy ground to walk, but wherever you look down a street, there's a ridge at the end of it. And as you start walking, you recognize different parts of the city, not by name, but by how they feel. Skanderbeg Square, open, paved, monumental. This is where the city presents itself, the place everything else starts from. Parko Ilichenet, the lake park south of the center, trees, paths, water. Mbluko, once close to almost everyone, now full of cafes and people, a part of the city where Tirana relaxes. If you start with these, Tirana is easy to get to know. Tirana is flat and that helps. The center is compact and most of what you want to see sits within a short walk of the square. But most of the time in Tirana, walking means moving around cars. The ones driving past and the ones parked where the pavement should be. You pick your line, step out and back in, wait for a gap and keep going. It's not unpleasant, but it's never quite effortless either. Walking here is eventful. It asks for your attention the whole way. And then, the ground clears. Skanderbeg Square, one of the biggest car-free surfaces you'll cross in any European city. It's just open pavement and room. Or the boulevard south of it, wide, straight, with space you don't have to negotiate for. But the traffic is always there, one way or another, and you move with it more than around it. It's not the easiest city to walk, but it keeps you on your toes. Here are a few places worth knowing for walking. Follow the main boulevard south toward Mother Teresa Square, wide pavements and open road. Or walk west from Skanderbeg Square along Ruga e Cavalles, all the way down to where it meets the Lana, a longer, more everyday side of the city, away from the monuments. And if you'd rather not commit to a direction at all, just explore the streets around Skanderbeg Square and Patsari Reef freely, an eventful, dense quarter that rewards wandering without a route. The street life is the thing Tirana does best. The city is alive. One thing you notice in Tirana is that people sit. At cafe tables, on steps, on the edges of the square, and not just at lunchtime. The cafes are full in the morning, and they're still full in the evening. Patsari Iri is one place where the everyday city concentrates. Fruit stalls and fish counters in the middle, cafes around the edge, people going about their day rather than posing for a photograph. And Blocko is another pole, streets of cafes and small shops where the city goes to meet itself. It doesn't feel made for visitors, it feels used. And when the heat fades in the evening, the square and the streets fill up. People of all ages, not always going somewhere, just being in the city. And if you're anything like me, you'll order one more coffee, just to be part of it. Here are a few places worth knowing for street life. Blocko, cafe streets that are full from breakfast until late and easy to settle into. The area around Pazzari Iri, stalls, cafe and the city doing its shopping for the day. And Skanderbeg Square in the early evening when half the city seems to come out for a slow walk with nowhere particular to go. In Tirana, the pause is rarely separate from everything else. A cafe table on a side street, a chair pulled out onto the pavement, an espresso that comes with no particular expectation that you'll finish it quickly. That's what's passing through the city looks like here. And Parco Ilicinet, the grand park just south of the center wrapped around the lake. Trees, paths, benches by the water, and the traffic noise drops back behind you as you walk in. It's the kind of green space that exists for all the people who live here. But the pause Tirana does best is the one that just happens. It's the table that was already there, the coffee that took a little longer than expected, or the bench in the street that gave you somewhere to sit and just watch the day go by. Here are a few places worth knowing for places to pause. A cafe table anywhere in Blocko, the pause finds you before you look for it. Parco Ilicinet, the grand park and the lake south of the center, 10 minutes from the square but a slower world. And Rinia Park, small, central and easy to drift into. So, what's the score for Tirana on the Travel Without Chaos Index? Well, for walkability, it's mixed. There are real walking streets here, but traffic is always close. Step a little off course and you're sharing the street with cars, waiting at crossings, reading the ground more carefully than you'd like. The city is walkable in parts, but as a whole, it keeps you negotiating. And for street life, outstanding. This is what Tirana does best. People come to the street not because they're passing through it, but because the street is the place to be. The cafes, Blocko, the evening square, there's a natural, unhurried life out here that doesn't need an occasion. It just happens. And for places to pause, solid and cafe-led rather than park-led. The Grand Park gives you something the center can't. Green space, water and room to slow down. And scattered across the city there are small squares and patches of shade worth finding. But the pause Tirana does most naturally is the cafe table. It's always nearby and it's always enough. Tirana isn't the easiest city to move through, but few European cities feel this alive. It's a very nice city. Have you been here or do you live here? I'd love to hear.